The 2025 NFL season has not been kind to some of the game's biggest names. We're talking about future Hall of Famers, Super Bowl champions, and former Pro Bowlers who are clearly running on fumes. Their bodies betraying them, either injury or performance-wise, and in ways that the numbers alone don't fully capture. As you might have heard, Father Time remains undefeated. And this year, he is collecting bodies at an alarming rate.
Of an injury of this kind to a player of this caliber at this age, at this point in their contract.
Some will go out on their own terms with dignity intact, while others might get forced out by teams ready to move on and rebuild. But one way or another, we're watching the final chapter unfold for some of the NFL's biggest names, and it's not always pretty. So, let's break down the 10 NFL stars who could, and probably should, retire after this season. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, Pittsburgh Steelers. The NFL's oldest active player has already told us exactly what he's thinking. The question is, how long until and how many times will he change his mind? Back in June of 2025, Rodgers told the Pat McAfee show that he's pretty sure that the 2025 season will be his last. Hence, why he signed a one-year deal with Pittsburgh after the Jets released him. No long-term commitment, no illusions about what this is. It is a farewell tour disguised as a playoff push. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, not so fast, because midway through the 2025 season, Rodgers has looked surprisingly good, and that complicates the narrative here. The Steelers started 5-3 with him under center, matching his entire win total from his disastrous final season with the Jets. And now there's talk that if Pittsburgh makes a deep playoff run, that he might be tempted to come back for one more year. You know, chasing another ring and proving that he's still got something left. But, I mean, come on, here's the reality. No amount of midseason success can change the fact that the man will be turning 42 in December. He's already had his Hall of Fame career locked up years ago. 4 MVP awards, a Super Bowl ring, 10 Pro Bowls. Seriously, what's left to prove at this point? That you can play while you're old? Rodgers himself has double tapped on the fact that he's pretty sure that this is it. And honestly, going out on a strong note with Pittsburgh is a lot better than limping through another year at age 42, possibly risking injury or further tarnishing what has been an incredible legacy. If Rodgers is wise, then, well, he'll call it quits at the end of the season. Travis Kelce, tight end, Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce is 35 years old and coming off his worst statistical season in years. In 2024, he posted 97 catches for 823 yards and just 3 touchdowns. A massive drop from his peak years when he was routinely clearing 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns, dominating defenses in ways that made him one of the most dangerous weapons in football. His Super Bowl performance last February was particularly rough. 4 catches for 39 yards in the biggest game of the year. Kelce himself said in February of 2025 that he felt like he failed my guys, which is the kind of honest self-assessment that usually signals a player knows that the end is near. And to his credit, he is trying to bounce back. He lost weight in the offseason and says that he's motivated to get the most out of the games while he still can. But loving the game does not make Father Time go away, and no amount of offseason conditioning can turn back the clock when your body has accumulated that many years of NFL punishment. Kelce has 1 year left on his deal and has already done all the things. I mean, he's won 3 Super Bowls, is the Chiefs' all-time leading receiver, and of course, he's gonna be in Canton the moment that he's eligible. Kelce has not committed to retirement quite yet, and he probably won't until the offseason forces that decision. But at 35, with visible wear and tear, this very well could be his final season in Kansas City. Calais Campbell, defensive lineman, Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, Campbell has basically already told us that he's done. The 38-year-old returned to Arizona in April of 2025, signing a one-year deal with the team that drafted him back in 2008. When asked about 2025 being his last season, Campbell said that he'd be very surprised if it wasn't. Which, you know, considering Campbell is in his 18th NFL season, is pretty understandable. And when you look at his resume, it's clear that he doesn't have much more to accomplish. He earned his retirement watch, and returning to the Cardinals for one final season is a good enough storybook ending for him. Campbell gets to go out on his own terms with a franchise that believed in him first. That's kind of rare in the NFL. Most players either get cut unceremoniously or hang on for far too long. Campbell seems at peace walking away, and that's not something every veteran athlete manages to achieve. Bobby Wagner, linebacker, Washington Commanders. In 2024, Wagner posted 132 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 2 fumble recoveries with Washington, marking one of the best seasons for any off-ball linebacker that year. Second-team All-Pro at his age was a ridiculous achievement, and the way that he was still playing at an elite level, defying age, seemed to suggest that he had a few more years left. But 2025 has been rough, and it looks like the proverbial cliff. Fans and analysts alike have even started calling for Wagner to retire. Wagner is 35 years old and in his 14th NFL season. 10-time Pro Bowler, 11-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, NFL 2010s All-Decade team. Look, the credentials are undeniable. But when the team is actively preparing for life after you and fans are calling for you to hang it up, that's usually a sign. Wagner might have one more year in him, but after what we've seen in 2025, walking away now would preserve his legacy as one of the greatest linebackers of all time. And it might just give him a better quality of life if we're being honest. Von Miller, edge rusher, Washington Commanders. The Super Bowl 50 MVP, 2-time champion, and 8-time Pro Bowler has not hit 10 sacks in 7 years. Yeah, you heard that right. Von Miller hasn't had a double-digit sack season since 2018. Now he's 36 years old and was released by the Buffalo Bills earlier in 2025 before signing with Washington. Miller still has value. He had the NFL's fastest get-off time last season and posted a 25.5% pass rush win rate in the fourth quarter, which ranked 3rd in the league. Sure, he can still help a team in situational pass rush, but when you go from elite to useful situational player, it's clear your career is winding down. The role gets smaller, the impact diminishes, and eventually teams start asking if a roster spot could be better used on someone younger. Miller has been plagued with lingering knee injuries and is reportedly thinking of hanging them up after the year. And with his Hall of Fame case already being locked in, seriously, who could blame him? Russell Wilson, quarterback, New York Giants. From Super Bowl champion to bench journeyman in 3 years. That's the latest chapter in the Russell Wilson story. Wilson signed a 1-year deal with the Giants after a messy split with Pittsburgh, where his relationship with the team became fractured in relatively short order. A few New York fans flirted with the idea that maybe Wilson had one more run left in him, that maybe just a change of scenery could reignite whatever made him special in Seattle. Well, spoiler alert, it didn't. Wilson started 0-3 as the Giants starter and was promptly benched for rookie Jackson Dart, marking the 3rd team that has given up on him in consecutive years. That's pretty damning for a quarterback who was once one of the league's best. Wilson just doesn't have the same scrambling ability that he once did. That dual threat element that made him dangerous for over a decade, it's just gone. And though his confidence is still sky high, maybe it shouldn't be. As honestly, it just leads him into more mistakes than wins. Russ had an incredible peak with Seattle, but that player doesn't exist anymore, and his latest stint in New York may have finally proved it to him. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver, Baltimore Ravens. Sad to say it, but DeAndre Hopkins is a shadow of the player who dominated for years with the Texans and Cardinals. In 2024, his numbers declined across the board. After being traded to Kansas City mid-season, he posted just 41 receptions for 437 yards and 4 touchdowns in 10 games with the Chiefs. That is replacement-level production at best. Thus far in 2025, it has been more of the same, as his reduced target share and rising age make it look all the more likely that his days as a go-to receiver are over and retirement may be looming. Hopkins is still playing. He's currently with the Baltimore Ravens, but he's in a diminished role. And despite flashes, the production isn't there anymore, largely because the separation just isn't what it used to be. Hopkins will probably make the Hall of Fame one day. After all, he's the NFL's active leader in receiving yards with over 12,000 for his career, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro selections. But at this point, he's only holding on because that's what competitors do. But he'd be wise to get out sooner rather than later. Cam Jordan, defensive end, New Orleans Saints. 15 years with one franchise is pretty dang impressive, and why Cam Jordan is beloved in New Orleans. The 35-year-old defensive end has spent his entire professional life with the New Orleans Saints since being drafted 24th overall in 2011. Multiple Pro Bowls, part of the legendary 2011 draft class, a franchise icon in every way. But even Jordan admits the end is near. He acknowledged that he'd like to play through at least his 15th season. Well, that's 2025, this season. His current contract runs through 2025, and while his passion for the Saints has never wavered, his play certainly has declined over the past couple of years. The Saints brought him back on a reworked contract for his 15th season. A nice gesture, but it's also a clear signal that they weren't committing long-term. Jordan says that he still enjoys the game as much as he ever has, but there's a difference between loving football and your body being able to handle it. And really, there is still a big question if he even wants to keep playing. playing. I mean, suiting up for New Orleans and getting your teeth kicked in every weekend is kind of tough regardless of age. And it's not like you'll want to go anywhere else at this point. Going out as a Saint after 15 years is the kind of loyalty that you'll rarely see anymore. And it's core to who he is as a football player. Plus, retiring as a one-franchise player would cement his legacy at New Orleans forever. Lavonte David, linebacker, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another franchise legend potentially in his final season. Lavonte David has spent all 14 years of his NFL career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Super Bowl champion, 3-time All-Pro, one of only 4 players since 1994 with 1,500 plus tackles, 35 plus sacks, and 10 interceptions alongside London Fletcher, Ray Lewis, and Bobby Wagner. That is some elite company. Truly, one of the greatest players of his generation. But all signs are pointing to 2025 being his last ride. David turns 36 in January of 2026 during a potential playoff run. He's been signing one-year contracts for several years now, which is the classic year-by-year approach of a veteran hanging on. It wouldn't be a shock to see David retire after the 2025 season, and based on the numbers, it's hard to argue. David's 2025 performance has been middle of the pack, which is pretty impressive for his age, honestly, but just not his standards. And there's a reason to believe that the one-year $10 million deal that he signed in March is gonna be his farewell tour. Going out as a Buccaneers lifer after 14 seasons, a Super Bowl ring, and a spot alongside legends like Ray Lewis in the record books? Hey, not a bad way to finish your career, especially if Baker can lead them to another deep playoff run. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, Miami Dolphins. This one hurts to even talk about for Dolphins fans because the Tyreek Hill era started off with so much promise in South Beach. But there's real reason to believe that the speedster's career might have ended in the most brutal way possible. Week 4 against the Jets, Hill caught a 10-yard pass, got tackled out of bounds, and his left leg twisted underneath him in a way that made everyone watching wince. Multiple ligament tears, including his ACL. Surgeries followed within days, and season was over just like that. Here's what makes this particularly devastating, though. Hill's entire game is built on elite speed and explosiveness. It is literally what makes him Tyreek Hill. Any loss of quickness after this injury could completely alter his effectiveness, transforming him from a game-breaking weapon into just another veteran trying to hang on. The Dolphins are expected to release him before the March 2026 league year starts, which kind of tells you everything that you need to know about how the organization views his future. Hill himself admitted that he's unsure about returning in 2026 and plans to have a conversation with his family about potential retirement. When a player starts using that kind of language, the writing is usually on the wall. Think about the timeline here. A full ACL recovery takes 9 to 12 months. He'll be 32 years old when he's cleared to play again. And if he's even lost half a step, well, the player who terrorized defenses with 4.2 speed might not exist anymore. At that point, what's left? He might be a shell of himself without the speed that made him special, chasing a paycheck while his body reminds him every play that it can't do what it used to do. Given the severity of the injury and the uncertainty around his recovery, retirement might actually be the smartest move for Tyreek. But which of these NFL stars do you think could or should retire at the end of the season? Who do you think we're right on here? Who do you think we're wrong about? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.